Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. As you can see, I'm in a different environment. I'm actually in my little house in Port Clinton. The beach is just a little bit that way, and this is about the most dressed up we get here. So I'm in my Cat Mom t-shirt, having just come from a nice walk on the beach, and thought it would just be different to film my video here while I'm here. This is about the best the hair gets because there's always a breeze on the beach. And so forgive my informality, but I thought it would just be a nice change of pace. So lots of things to talk to you about. First of all, this video is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health and the Wellness Forum Institute for Health Studies. And just a couple of announcements. The first thing is we are looking for a microbiology teacher for the Institute. This is all done by Zoom, so you can live any place if you're interested in applying for the position. We have wonderful students. They are hard workers. They're serious about school. It's a dream job, actually. I feel that way about my own teaching experience with the Institute. So send me an email at pampopper@msn.com if you would like to apply. Second announcement is the Diet and Lifestyle Intervention course starts August 14th. It's the 15-module course you hear me talk about often if you've been listening for a while. It covers men's health, women's health, children's health, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes type 1 and type 2, and autoimmune diseases. It's a very, very good comprehensive course. Consumers take it as well, and some of them choose to audit it and not complete the final project because they just don't want to be bothered with that. They just want the information. But health professionals, this will change your life, I promise. So if either of those things are interesting, send me an email. So I have 3 news items to share with you today. And the first one is an inquiry from a subscriber that I think has some significance because I get emails like this often. So I'm going to read you the slightly edited inquiry and then my response to it. So the person writes, I'm curious as to what you might know or have heard regarding the latest contaminants in tampons, such as arsenic, lead, etc. Are there healthier products? How can I research and learn more since I don't trust industry? Most women I've asked are in the dark as well, and a few have said only use on heaviest of days and change frequently. So the first thing, if you don't know how to research this yourself, strongly encourage you to join Wellness Forum. We teach consumers and health professionals how to do that, and you'll never be perplexed about finding the answers to things like this again. But I'm going to give the answer now. One of the main principles we try to teach at Wellness Forum is to focus on things that are most important and which will have the greatest impact on health. Tampons do contain substances that might be concerning to some people, but many other products, ranging from sunscreens to baby oil to cosmetics, contain some of the same ingredients. Living a chemical-free life is almost impossible to do, and it's not clear that doing so would make much of a difference in health outcomes. It's a complicated issue that has bad actors making claims on both sides. So I have to give you the short answer to this here because the long answer would take paragraphs and paragraphs and hours. But here we go. On the one hand, the U.S. toxicology program funds several thousand researchers who are supposed to investigate the safety of chemicals added to food and other consumer products. This sounds great, but these people get their articles published and funding assured by scaring people about chemicals. And so this skews the outcomes data, I think. You've probably heard me talk about this before, that many times people start backwards the outcome they want and work to what type of research would show that. So an example I use frequently in my lectures is the study showing that chemicals in processed meat products cause cancer in rodents. For the record, I think it's a whole lot better to have hot dogs as infrequently as possible, maybe July 4th picnics, and the rest of the year you don't have them. But the study that most people are referring to when they make this statement involved giving rats the equivalent of 735,000 bologna sandwiches a year. So if the goal is to scare people and secure funding, well, job well done. But this type of thing can be counterproductive too. A person who knows how to read these studies could say, well, gosh, I only eat bologna 2 times a week, so I can't imagine that I'd have a problem. So the research is skewed, is what I'm telling you. It's very difficult to extract from it how harmful something is, and many times the doses showing harm are impossible for a human to ever have exposure to. So let's circle back to the tampons. There are a lot of scare articles like the one I just mentioned above, but pertaining to tampons, reporting that chemicals are found in tampons and reasons to believe that they're dangerous. But I can't find a single case report showing that any illness, has ever been diagnosed in a person from tampon use. Not even one. And that includes cancer. A case report, by the way, is pretty easy to get published. It's a doctor's report about something that happened to a patient that might be interesting to the medical community. Tampons have been used, chemicals and all, for decades, so I think it's safe to say that disease caused by tampons is not likely to occur. And one of my pet peeves about all the hullabaloo about this type of thing is that it takes focus away from the stuff that we absolutely positively know matters, like dairy products, getting rid of those, high fat eating, carrying extra weight, diabetes, stress, lack of exercise. Those are risk factors that we absolutely positively know. I bet my life savings on it. We can show connection between those things and cancer. So I'd much rather see people focus on that because there's a sure benefit to that as opposed to getting carried away with chemicals and that sort of thing. Quick announcement before news item number 2. Our annual Christmas in July special offer is underway, and you only have a few more weeks and maybe less time because the way this works is a 6-month supply of our smoothie ingredients buys you 2.5 times the tuition value that you can apply to take Optimal Life and Health with Pam Part 1 or Part 2 or both. And common conditions, causes, and treatments, which is going to cover a lot of territory I haven't spoken about in the past, like hypertension, AFib, migraines, reflux, restless leg, kidney stones, tetanus vaccines, hemorrhoids, food allergies and sensitivities, fibromyalgia, etc. There can only be 50 in each of these classes because I want open discussion. So if you're planning to do this, August 31st is the deadline, or 50 people enrolled in the one you want to take, or the two, you get to choose 2 of those. If they're subscribed, they're subscribed. So if that's something you're interested in, send me an email at pampopper@msn.com and I will send you more information. All right, so news item number 2, an important tip for cancer patients concerning side effects of treatment. I've said for many years that the best outcomes for cancer patients result from using the best of all modalities, both conventional and alternative options. When looking at outcomes data, chemotherapy is sometimes warranted. For cancer patients who do benefit from chemotherapy, the goal is to minimize the side effects during and after treatment. Preparation for this starts before treatment begins. Better diet, hydration, weight loss, addressing stress, exercise. Most of the time, there's time to engage in some health improvement prior to starting treatment. And this is always a good idea if possible. Another helpful strategy is trying to, during the time the chemotherapy is being taken or undergone, try to minimize side effects even after health improvement. And a helpful strategy is taking probiotics during and after treatment. Now, some oncologists will argue against this, but I have researched this thoroughly, and I cannot find any articles showing that taking probiotics causes harm or interferes with the effects of chemotherapy. There's a lot of evidence showing that probiotics can help. So if you're a cancer patient who's being told not to take probiotics, ask your oncologist to provide published data showing that this is the case and read it carefully. So one of the reasons is that Chemo Brain, I'm going to talk about Chemo Brain and then circle around back to probiotics. It's a term coined by breast cancer survivors a long time ago. It describes common syndrome associated with chemotherapy characterized by diminished cognitive function, impaired memory and organization skills. It can affect a lot of things, including language, multitasking, daily function, and it can reduce quality of life significantly. There's a lot of published research on the topic. We are not exactly sure how many people suffer because it's not being tracked very well, and not everybody remains in contact with their oncologist after treatment, but the prevalence is between 15 and 70%, so it could be as high as 70%. According to some experts, it's caused not only by chemotherapy, but by other forms of treatment like radiation, and by the cancer itself. So some health professionals refer to it as cancer-related cognitive impairment. But some studies show the condition really is due to the toxicity of chemotherapy, particularly when high-dose treatments are received. There are identified mechanisms of action, which include inflammation, damage to the vascular system, oxidative stress, direct injury to neurons, autoimmune responses, and anemia, all of which are consequences of treatment. Well, a new study, we're going to come back around to the probiotics now, involving breast cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy, shows that changes in the gut microbiome are associated with cognitive decline. Researchers analyzed fecal samples, blood samples, and cognitive function for 77 patients before, during, and after receiving chemotherapy. They reported that chemotherapy changed the composition of the gut microbiome, and that as a result, circulating levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines increased. Patients who experienced cognitive decline showed taxonomic changes in a number of different bacteria that make up the healthy part of the microbiome. The researchers concluded, quote, "These results suggest that microbiome-related strategies may be useful for predicting and preventing behavioral side effects of chemotherapy." Well, a microbiome-related strategy would be taking probiotics before, during, and after chemotherapy. And as I mentioned before, there's no reason not to. There's no harm that can happen from taking them. All right, quick announcement before we get to news item number 3. Business training for health professionals starts September 16th. It's a 9-module course that teaches practitioners how to make money while they help others improve their health, developing your directory of services, developing communication skills, how to develop seminars and classroom workshops, and promote events and educational programs, and develop basic sales and communication skills. So if you're interested in that, campopper@msn.com. And then the last item, real quick, here's an advertisement that says it all about the state of medicine in our country today. A member sent this to me. It's an ad that appeared in the Washington Post a couple of weeks ago, a large full-page ad. It reads, quote, "If you're lucky enough to live a long life, you will get sick. It's one thing we can all count on. Everyone, even the lucky ones, gets sick. But when people can't afford their medicine, or unsure that it will make them healthier, or don't believe their medicine is made for their body, medicine isn't working for everyone." So, first of all, what a god-awful negative thought. Everybody's going to get sick. That's not true. Everybody doesn't get sick. People who take really good care of themselves minimize their risk of getting sick. But of course, this ad was run by a drug company that then goes on to extol its virtues, and we need more research, and we got to make drugs affordable for everyone. And the drug company is Eli Lilly, a company with a horrific past. And in 2000, just give you a little bit of it. In 2009, Lilly pled guilty to off-label marketing of Zyprexa. They paid $515 million in criminal fines, and then $800 billion in civil fines. Last year, Lilly was ordered to pay a $183 million fine to settle cases regarding Medicare fraud. And then decades ago, Eli Lilly started paying out enormous sums of money in jury trials concerning Prozac, which has been shown to increase the risk of suicide and homicide. And what I found so curious about all of this, in addition to just how negative and untrue it is the Washington Post ran hit pieces on anybody who had a contrary opinion about anything related to COVID, but it allows Eli Lilly to extol its virtues, if the few that it has, without being forced to disclose the company's sordid history. And it just points out the partnership between media and drug companies and big medicine and the government is huge. It's one of the reasons why healthcare in our country is so awful. And so it's a good reason to become educated, make better choices, make sure that you know better than your doctors in many cases, and can give instructions about what you're going to do instead of taking instructions from others who may not have your best interest at heart. So that's it for today. And as usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it. I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news, and back to the same scene in my home office, most likely recording the video there. But it's nice to be up here and enjoying the beach, and the fresh air and the sand between my toes, and a little bit of rest and recreation, which makes you sharper. And that's part of a good prescription for health as well. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.